Hello and welcome to Drayton Manor. I can't wait to get back here and get on some rides here. Obviously I'm starting off in the brand new Vikings area. It's new for last year. I'm back to the Zamperla Disco Thor. There's also a Jormungandr, which is a Zamperla powered coaster, absolute classic here. There's the Bounty pirate ship, and of course the signature coaster Shockwave, interim stand-up, very unique. Stormforce 10 over there, as well as Thomasland, which does feature a roller coaster, and you've also got Accelerator, and of course there's 3 different themed areas. You've got Thomasland, Adventure Cove and Vikings, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot of the rides in these areas, and also there's a few of the rides outside of the themed areas such as Accelerator and the Haunting, which I can't wait to do. That's a Vekoma Madhouse, so I'm really looking forward to getting on some rides here. And Shockwave is of course the major ride here. Oh yeah, you've got Maelstrom as well, and Air Race. There's a lot of flat rides here, which is fantastic. I've just come off of Thor, the Zamperla Disco. That was fantastic, that was. I think I got a little bit of airtime on there. It's a really long cycle, and it just builds up a bit of speed as you go over the airtime hill. You really feel it picking up some speed. I've actually never done one of these at the airtime hill, and that was fantastic. That was really enjoyed that. I was just impressed with how much speed it actually picks up over the airtime hill. You don't really feel it lose any speed. Yeah, really good that was, and a great first ride. I think it is the only ride that's open. It opens a bit earlier than the rest of the park, because the rest of the park opens at 10:30. Obviously some of the first people into the park, so great first ride in the Vikings area. It's a great family ride as well. I've just come off of Maelstrom, which is the gyro swing here. That was really quite intense. You do feel the height on it. It's one of the biggest ones in the UK. You do feel how high it is. But I actually found it really fun. A little bit of force on it as well, as you're going through. This wasn't too long of a cycle, but it does feel longer when you're on it. But yeah, really great second ride over here. I'm about to do Air Race. There's definitely a fantastic selection of flat rides. And this is a good thrilling flat ride. I've just come off of Shockwave, the interim stand-up coaster, and I'm really impressed with that. I didn't find it painful. It's a very short ride. You get quite nervous as you're going up the lift hill, because when you get in, you're quite open. It was different to what I was expecting. It does literally just feel like you're standing up, and it just feels really odd. But as you're going around the inversions, it doesn't actually feel that weird for me. Round the 0G roll, it's the only 0G roll actually on a stand-up coaster, and the 2 corkscrews, I felt like my feet left the floor a little bit. The loop is pretty good as well. The force kind of keeps your feet on the floor, so it doesn't really so it doesn't feel that weird. But that was fantastic. That was it's up there. I think it's probably one of my favourite coasters. It's quite short, I think. The track layout, but yeah, fantastic, and it's very unique as well, especially for the UK. And it's just great to actually have such a unique experience, and just how weird it feels when you get into the restraint. Obviously because your feet leave the floor, because it's quite open, that is quite intense. The force mostly keeps it, but those last few inversions really, I did sort of feel slightly come off the floor on it. But yeah, fantastic signature coaster. It's just so unique to have one here. I do want to do it again later, because it was a really short queue as well. I've just come off of Accelerator, which is the Vekoma Junior Boomerang coaster. It was really good fun though. You've got a little bit of force on it and a little bit of air time as well. As you come down, obviously the first vertical spike, absolutely fantastic. It's a really good, perfect fit for this park. The biggest of the family coasters over here. And that was really good fun. It wasn't a long queue. It's just actually I only probably queued about 20 minutes for it, but there was an announcement saying it's gone to an hour, so I definitely got on that at the right time. Yeah, really, really good fun. Obviously it's low capacity because it's only on one train because it's a shuttle coaster. But yeah, obviously I love how it goes backwards on there. Because it's quite intense for a family coaster. It's quite tall as well. Really, really good, solid coaster for this park. It's a perfect fit.
And it reminds me of
Let's go off of Jormungandr, which is the Zamperla powered coaster. Absolute classic, this one. But it's been brought into the Viking themed area opposite Thor. Really enjoyed that. And near the end, you've got some sort of whippy elements that take you by surprise, really. Like, you just kind of come down there and you're like, just get sort of whacked from side to side. But most of the coaster is really relaxing. Obviously you go around the helix over the lake, which just build up a bit of speed. So yeah, really, really good coaster, that. I'm just taken by surprise by the jerkiness of that section down there. And it's got a decent speed on it as you go around the helix over the lake. Really nice views off it as well. Just come off of The Haunting, which is the Vekoma Madhouse. It's really good not really knowing much about what was actually inside there. Obviously I knew it was a Vekoma Madhouse, but I didn't really know much about the pre-shows. So you go into this sort of cabin and there's like big satellite dishes on top. It's like a research station for paranormal activity. You've got Dr. Ghostman in there on the little pre-show screens, telling you about the fact you're going to go into Drayton Green Vicarage to do a paranormal investigation in there. And then of course you go into the second pre-show. It's quite a short one. It's just like all the roof is broken. You can see into the attic. You're in the basement. And then this flying skeleton effect sort of flies down over your head. Then you go into the third and final pre-show room, which is definitely the scariest of them. All the walls are themed. You've got kind of this wallpaper on there, and then you've got the sort of portrait, and it's the lady of the manor, and she gets more and more angry with you for actually entering into the house, and she sort of screams at you, but it's a really scary face actually, and you've got sort of these bodies hanging from the ceiling as well, in there with like a strobe effect, which is really good. And then and all the portraits actually sort of fall down as well. You've got these like big picture frames on the wall, and they sort of tilt forward, which is fantastic. You go into the madhouse. That was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, to become a madhouse, you do get the ride vehicle actually rocks a little bit as well as the room obviously spinning around, so you do get fully fooled by it. And I almost felt like a bit of force sort of generated off it, because of you do really get fooled by that illusion in there. You've got these sort of gargoyle faces on the walls. The soundtrack's fantastic, really like sort of dramatic in there. Absolutely love it. As you start going round under the floor, you've got like these like coffins under there, and there's also a big like coffin sort of casket on like between the seats. It's quite a small madhouse as well. You've got the windows, like these big sort of like chapel windows, because you're in the chapel of the house, and you get sort of projection mapped like little sort of demon like ghost on those as well. And then you get all these UV effects sort of going off, like this writing on the walls, and doing like sort of a purple effect, and you've got these green gargoyle faces, they're sort of light up green in the UV effect, and you've got all the bricks on the walls, and you've got these sort of wooden beams on the ceiling with like the tiled roofing, and then you've got the sort of casket on the middle of the madhouse. Also, yeah, the torches. There's like these little candle torches, and they all sort of flicker at the start as well. And the UV effect continues for the whole ride as well. And at the end of the ride, this casket with the coffins opened, and there's like mist coming out. There's a lot of mist in the pre-show as well. The last pre-show with the portrait, and then your casket closes shut, and you leave the madhouse. But absolutely fantastic. That's up there as one of the best dark rides in the UK. Really enjoyed that. It's probably one of my favourite rides here as well. Just come off of Sheriff Showdown, Take Back the West over here. It's a great interactive shooting dart ride. I got a score of 6,100 on there, which is really good. It's quite well themed. Obviously, you're going through the mine at first. You got sort of rats and skeletons in there, all rock work on the walls with wooden beams, and then you go into like the Wild West village with all the buildings. There's a lot of triggered effects, like the cow in there. There's an explosion one near the end. You've also got a sheriff that's on the toilet in there as well. Yeah, you got like buildings, like there's a hotel kind of right at the front. It's well themed in there with all the different buildings, and then you kind of got a small mine section at the end there as well. But I got a pretty good score on there. All the cars are themed to mine carts. You've got little pickaxes on the front, which I quite like. But yeah, really like that. Go off of the drunken barrels, absolute classic here. I really like the theming in there. It's quite a big building, but I got a really good spin on there, like constant. And yeah, it actually tilts up the whole platform, which is quite unique for one of these. But yeah, a fantastic spin on there. Really good ride this. As well, next to Sheriff Showdown, the Wild West Dart Ride. But yeah, really enjoyed that. I got a fantastic spin on it. Just constantly, just keep going there with the spinning on there. Come off of Loki, these Zamperla nebulas right next to Thor. That was really odd, that was. And not too long with cycling. It takes a long time for it to actually get going, because I was on the bottom, so you have to wait at the top for the people underneath to get on. But it's a really unique sensation, starting by going backwards because of the side I was on, and then going forwards. But you do get the interactions with the other arms as well, which it feels like you're going to go into the other arm. And also what I really liked about it, there was a sort of mild force when I was going forwards on there, the second half of the cycle. When I was going forwards, I got kind of floater air time at the top, and then a little bit of force at the bottom as you're kind of going back up. So it's really good flat ride and unique to the UK. It's the only one in the UK as well. Yeah, really good fun. That was very odd feeling as well, especially kind of the second part, when you're getting sort of pulled back into the restraint almost. But quite a fun flat ride. It fits in here because it's a family thrill flat ride, as well in the Vikings area. It's really well themed with like sort of wooden effects around the side. Opposite Thor as well, the Zamperla Disco. So yeah, it was really good.
Do we want to get nice and fast? Yes! So we've got 3 options. Option 1, fast. Option 2, extra fast. Option 3, supersonic. Okay, we're going to go extra fast. Hold on to your bars. Here we go. It's time to rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Okay, here we go. Bye bye, bye bye everybody. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye everybody.
Just come off of air race, the Zamperla air race. First air race that I've done. Absolutely fantastic that was. Quite a bit of force, and there's so many inversions on there. It gets going pretty quick. There's quite a bit of hang time at some places, but then other times it just goes right the way over. So that was a really fun flat ride. There's definitely not lacking in flat rides. Adventure Cove's definitely the area with the more thrilling flat rides, because obviously Maelstrom's right next to it. And obviously it's got Shockwave up there as well, which is the most thrilling coaster. So definitely a fantastic addition. And the hang time, you really get pushed into the restraint. You get to spin both ways as well on there. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Another solid flat ride here. Definitely really intense with the hang time though, as well as the force. I've just come off of the Adventure Cove River Rapids over here in Adventure Cove, just underneath Shockwave. There's a lot of interactions with Shockwave on there, passing underneath it. I do like the tunnel in there. There's some smells in there, some pipes. A lot of the buildings around here are really vibrant as well, around this area. And there's just a lot to sort of look at on there. You've got the big steamboat in the middle. I even got a bit of a light sprinkle on there, but I've sort of dried off now. It wasn't really that much of a soaking on there, but just off some of the waves and the water squirters you have got on there as well. There's some decent like drops in there, I thought as well, as you're going round. It's quite relaxing for a lot of it. But yeah, there's some decent drops, there's some water squirts, there's a few waves, and I did get a bit of a light sprinkle, just a few spots of water, nothing really major, but I just like the theming. It definitely fits in with this coastal theming, and it's got a really upbeat sort of soundtrack as well, which is fantastic. Off of the Bounty pirate ship just over here, just opposite Adventure Cove. It's really nice that. I do love the waits over the lake. You get some views over the lake as well as some of the other rides in the park. It got going pretty quick. That it's a relatively long cycle as well. I was near the back as well, so that was really good to get the sort of flow through airtime on there. But you get some nice views over the rest of the rides in the park as well as over the lake. But yeah, it was a decent cycle, some good airtime on it as well. Off of Troublesome Trucks in Thomasland, the fourth and final coaster here. I'm quite impressed with that. You do get a little bit of force as you go down the drop. Obviously it's got a little helix on there, and I just really like the layout on this. It's quite intense for a little family coaster in Thomasland. It's definitely more of a family coaster. Because there's some quite intense sections, like you get sort of whipped from side to side on those little lateral turns at the end, which is really good, and the force you go down. It's also a 2-lap coaster as well. Do always like to get 2 laps. It always makes it because it is quite a short layout, but I'm just impressed with the force on that first drop, and as you're going around the helix, and those sort of whippy lateral turns at the end. It's a really good solid fit for this area. Off of Stormforce 10, absolute soaker of a water ride. I'm actually drenched after that. First drop out the station, got pretty wet on it. It was like a kind of mild, it was like really wet still, but not anywhere near as wet compared to the other drops on this. You come around here, I did get a little splash from the waterfall coming round. And then you got the lift hill, and in between like the drops you get these little slow kind of boat ride sections to have a breather before going down the drop. The backwards drop, so you go around the turntable in the tower in the middle. The backwards drop was because I was on the front row, so I got absolutely soaked on that, like completely wet all the way around. I was just soaked. I still am from that, mainly from that drop. You come down the backwards drop, yeah, the splash all came forward, water poured down on me, it was absolutely crazy. Then the final drop, I got held on the lift hill because some people wanted to get off, so held on the lift hill for a while, and then continued upwards. Go around a little slow boat ride section around the top, with a nice view of Shockwave, and then you come down this huge drop, this double down, which is more intense. A couple of the drops have got airtime on. One of those was the double down. So you get the double down. Airtime is fantastic on it. Really is. And then you come down there. The splash was pretty decent on it. I'd say it was about as wet as the first drop on the front row. So it was a pretty good drop on there. Because I noticed that I didn't get that wet when I actually hit the water, but it seemed to like all splash up afterwards, like a little bit of a delay on it. So it sort of splashed up after it hit the bottom of the drop. and it was relatively wet. That was about the same as the first drop. And then you got another slow boat ride section into the station, but that was made longer because of the hold on the lift hill. The ride actually closed for a bit, but what a fantastic water ride. It's a true water ride that gives you an absolute soaking, and it is true when it says prepare to get very wet, because I'm still absolutely soaked all over from that. Just come off of Shockwave again for the second time today, and what a great coaster that is. My feet actually left the floor on the 0G roll on there. Fantastic. The force felt a lot more forceful on the corkscrews, I thought, as well. Yeah, the 0G roll was a lot more intense because our feet left the floor. It just feels weird when you get into the station, but you do kind of get used to it as the force keeps your feet on the ground, like on the loop. And there's the corkscrew. It's just the 0G roll felt like my feet actually left the floor on it. But yeah, it's a really good restraint system because it actually adjusts to your height to make sure that your feet are firmly on the ground for it. But it does just feel so odd as you're in the station, and then you kind of get used to it. But yeah, fantastic second ride. I absolutely love this coaster. I love how unique it is. I'm so glad to actually have it here in the UK and to be able to experience it, and to get a couple of rides on it today is fantastic. I just absolutely love this ride as it is, as a stand-up coaster, and I just love the layout on it, as much as it's quite short, but it's got some fantastic elements on it. And that wraps up my visit to Drayton Manor Resort. Fantastic park this was. Obviously doing things like Shockwave for the first time, Thor, Maelstrom, Stormforce 10. There's a great lineup. There's 4 different coasters: Shockwave, Intamin Stand-Up, Accelerator, the Vekoma Junior Boomerang, you've got Troublesome Trucks, which is the Gerstlauer family coaster, along with that Jormungandr in the Vikings area, which is a Zamperla powered coaster. There's obviously Vikings and Adventure Cove, fantastic themed areas. Vikings is probably the best themed. Adventure Cove has got obviously the major thrill rides like Shockwave, Maelstrom, Air Race and Stormforce 10. Along with that, you've got some of the rides like Bounty Pirate Ship, Accelerator, fantastic. Accelerator is quite intense for a family coaster. It's quite tall, and obviously it goes backwards as well. We just had a nice last ride on Jormungandr again as well. I love the views as you go around that helix, across the lake, some of the other rides around the park. And then you got the sort of bit in a bit of a valley at the end as well, sort of underground. So yeah, fantastic lineup of family and thrill rides. Shockwave, very intense with the forces on there, and also it just feels a bit strange when you go on it for the first time and you're sort of standing up straight on there. It just feels weird on a coaster, but when you go round the inversions, apart from obviously the second time I went on, and obviously my feet left the ground on the second inversion, which is the 0G roll. Your feet sort of stay on the ground because of the forces on there. It's a really unique coaster, and I'm just glad that I've been on it, and it's a unique experience. Along with that, the Haunting, it's a fantastic immersive dart ride. That Sheriff Showdown as well, it's another good dart ride, quite well themed in there. The Drunken Barrels, very unique spinning barrels ride, obviously the way it lifts up as well, and getting a good spin. So it's been fantastic here, going on all of the major sort of thrill rides and family thrill rides, like Loki and Thor, and obviously thrill rides like Shockwave and Maelstrom.